piano friends. This is Piano Q&A with Nancy Allred. We're going to continue our discussion today on teaching five-finger patterns. So one of the things that I would like to address, and I'm asked quite a bit, is what do you do if your student cannot play this or even play with the metronome? And most students have some kind of a natural rhythm. We have found that. But through the years, I have periodically had a student who really struggled with feeling the beat of the metronome and being able to play with that, or even struggle to count and feel the beat. So I will have some segments later on rhythm, but I would like to show, since we are working with five-finger patterns, kind of what some of my solutions have been to help students who don't maybe necessarily feel rhythm in a natural manner, and so that metronome is a little more difficult. So in the last segment, we talked about teaching the five-finger pattern and going through the circle of fifths and so on and so forth. So when at whatever point, and they've learned their patterns and they're starting to feel easy, then I begin testing to see where they are with the metronome. And we talked about testing with them playing 16th notes but clicking the quarter note, so that learning to play 4 notes per tick. Some students can do that, some can't do it at all. So what I do to test exactly where they are is, again, I start at that 16th note, see if they can do 4 per tick. So here's the little, we're at C. I'll go to G major just to give us a different sound. So that's at 64 per tick. Not everybody can do that right off. If they cannot, then I will try 8th notes. So I'll demonstrate. We count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We do that. If they cannot do that, then I try just quarter notes. 1 per tick. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. If for some reason they cannot do the quarter, then there are some other things that we do. I have, depending on where they are and how comfortable they are with the metronome, is what sequence I will take them for these five-finger patterns. But if quarter notes are good, then we'll just do those 3 times in a row, moving up the metronome a little bit at a time, 60, and then we move it up to 70 when they're, or 65, whatever, depending on the kind of metronome. We move them up, and the benchmark is to get to 120, because once we can play quarter notes at 120, then I can shift them and work on playing 8th notes at 60. So here's that quarter note at 120. Through all the patterns, then I first of all have them count. Let's count these five-finger patterns. Now we're going to count 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and then I will take them through counting all of the patterns, and then we turn the metronome on and do the same thing. 1, resting heart rate, and it just feels really good. Then I take a few patterns at a time, usually 4, and have that metronome, and we spend every time it feels easy, we move up. And I either move up, but depending on the metronome, if they have the typical old style metronome, then I use these on there. I would do 60 and probably go to 66 and then 72, and whatever feels easy. As I mentioned in my last segment, when they are always free to go faster as long as it's easy and perfecto, and they love having, where's my goal? Oh, my goal's 120, and some of them love to do that. The reason I take my time getting there is if you go too fast too soon, there's an element of stress and tension that can come into your physical plane, and this is not healthy for students. So I make sure that we can do that. So back to eighth notes. We will do that once they can get their eighth notes up to 120, and this can take some students. A 12-year-old probably could do this within a month's time. A 6, 7, or 8-year-old, it may take a lot of weeks, which is just fine. I have all the patience in the world, maybe. And so the goal would be that was 120 on the metronome, playing eighth notes. Once they can do the 120, then I flip them back to the next level, which is to be able to play those 16th notes, and then we count it. 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 2 E and a. And then, when they're ready, I will turn on the metronome. That is 60, and the goal, of course, is to get it up to 120. If they can get that 16th note and they're right on, then I take them back to that pattern that I showed in my earlier segment, which is to do quarters, eighths, and then 16ths like this. Now eighths. That's 60. I will assign them again 4 patterns in a week with a metronome, and then the next week we do the next 4, and the next week we do the next 4. Always, when they're ready, moving up that metronome. This is, it works, it's wonderful, and I love doing that. So that's one solution if a student is not ready to play these 16th notes right off, which many of them are not. At least half of them are not. Thank you.